Here it is. The most anticipated book of all time. This is... Hi! What's up? I'm Emily. Welcome to my reading vlog. Welcome to my reading vlog with spoilers. No, I'm gonna do it without spoilers, and I'm gonna speak in code because I want people to be able to enjoy an aesthetic reading vlog even if they don't read this book. So I will be doing a spoiler-free reading vlog, but if you've read the book, you will be able to understand my reactions and know what I'm talking about. So it's kind of like a win-win. If that doesn't make sense, it's okay. Just keep watching. This is Iron Flame. This is the second book in the, what do they call it? The like in something series. It's the sequel to Fourth Wing, which was the second most popular book of all time this year. If you didn't watch my original reading vlog of Fourth Wing, I do have that on my channel, so maybe you can check that out first and then come back to Iron Flame. I gave Fourth Wing a 4 out of 5. It is kind of one of those books that has just been so overly hyped, and while I really enjoyed it, I'm not sure I understand where like the absolute hype comes from. But having said that, and I explained this in some video I made recently, I'm not a trendy person. As far as books go, even if I am not super into a book, if it's like flying off the shelves as fast as these books are, I'm gonna be reading these books because I think it's just meaningful to be able to take part in conversations within the book community. And even if the last book was a 4-star read, not a 5-star read, you know, it was still a good book. I want to be able to talk about these books with people in the booktube and bookstagram or whatever community, because it's exciting when a book is getting this much attention. It's exciting regardless of whether or not it's your favorite book or not. I did say though when I finished the first book that I believe that this book, the second book, the way that the first one was set up, that this one has the potential of being a 5-star read. Another reason why the first one might not have been a 5-star read for me is because I read it right after I read A Court of Silver Flames, which is literally my favorite book of all time. So it had like a lot to live up to in that way. Okay, so this book, it's a little longer. I've since kind of reading almost all of the Throne of Glass series, taking a little break with my fantasy reading, but we're back and we are in full force with 623 pages. It's a longer book, but that's okay. Enough of this intro. Let's read. Right as I opened the book, I realized there were so many details from the first book that I forgot, even though I read it like, I don't know, a few months ago. And so I found a really great like 12-minute recap of Fourth Wing, the first book. So I can link that down below. Super helpful. So I feel like I'm up to speed now. I'm honestly like, I'm overwhelmed at how big this book is. I've been really breezing through some stuff, so I'm just hoping that it won't slow my momentum, but hopefully it'll be so good that I won't even realize how long it is. Little update for you. It is Thanksgiving. Has everyone heard Cher's latest Christmas album? I'm on page 144 on chapter 15. I feel the same way as I felt reading the first book, which was, it's really good, it's really dense. There are a lot of characters, there's a lot going on. The first few chapters, it was a little hard to get into. There was just a lot of like recap, like expositional stuff. Just the typeface and the way it's kind of laid out It feels slow, but I've only been reading this basically for one day, and I'm already like 150 pages in. Basically, you know, it obviously can't be that slow moving. I'm liking where Violet's kind of like arc is going. I feel like she's tougher, she kind of takes less shit. I don't have any sort of like huge kind of opinions about anything yet, which is kind of how I felt about the last one. Like, I don't have a lot of feelings about these books in general. Like, I just read them and I'm like, okay, yeah, like we're reading it, we're doing it. I still don't feel like the absolute attachment that I think a lot of people feel, and I wish I did, but I just don't yet. And I do think that part of that is because it is so hyped and I do have such an expectation. I do feel like if I picked this book up and it was like relatively known on booktube but not like absolutely hyped, I'd be like, wow, this is so good. I do think the hype kind of plays into my own kind of relationship to when I'm reading. I really have an appreciation for Rebecca Yarros. Like, I think the world she's creating is so specific and complex. You know, it's a story about a rebellion, about propaganda, and how fighting for those who are in more compromised, weaker positions that can be hard. To be a rebel is scary, you know, because a lot of people don't support it, or they'll tell you that you're wrong or that you're evil. And I really just admire that it's really a story about rebellion. Really, at the end of the day, the kind of like spice. Oh, I shouldn't say who it's between because this is spoiler free, but again, like after reading the A Court of Thorns and Roses series, like the spice just does not even compare. Like I feel like a little, I don't know, like apathetic to spice that like isn't exactly how Sarah J Maas wrote it in those books, because it's so good and so like explicit that I think the main thing for me is that I don't feel super emotionally connected to any of the characters. I think that really kind of just sums it up. But I really appreciate Violet, and like I appreciate the way she's written, and like I do love her. I'm not enjoying it. Like, I feel like I'm reading this for work. That's kind of what it feels like. It's like, this is good and I'm enjoying it, but I feel like I'm reading this because I'm on booktube and I want to like be up to date on all of the like hot books, and this is just kind of like I'm reading it so that I'm up to date on hot books. I'm really open. I hope that will change, but right now I am not there yet. There's just been so many problems that Violet has faced already, that almost feel like not unrelated to each other, but it doesn't feel yet like it's building towards something. I don't feel like I'm getting like a real rising action, like building towards something. And obviously, like, I know what Rebecca Yarros is building towards. I'm just saying, like, as a reader, it feels like this, and then maybe it's gonna like go like this. But I'm not kind of getting like this feeling like reading it. I don't know if that makes sense. I hope I'm not alienating my audiences. I'm gonna keep reading and then we're gonna go celebrate Thanksgiving. But that's kind of my little update. So I'm gonna stop talking now.
Hey guys. By the way, I'm wearing my frownies. I think by the time I post this, if you use my code Emily10, you get 10% off your order. Frownies are like a non-invasive, non-toxic, very affordable Botox alternative that I've been using for a while now. Yeah, check it out. And it's $20, and if you use it once and you don't like it, like, you never have to buy it again. I'll leave a link in the description. But just in case you're wondering what I had on my head, they're frownies. Page 215, chapter 22. So this is spoiler free. So there's this new first year writer, and we know that he is related to somebody. If you catch my drift, if you've read this, his name starts with an A. Like, he knows. That makes me really excited. Like, this is the first time Violet says, like, oh shit, my chest feels like it's caving in as I grab hold of his good arm, halting our steps before the tunnel. You know, don't you? And then he says, why else would I be here? It's just like so good. I'm gonna keep reading now. Actually, I'm gonna get back to my work and then I'm gonna keep reading. So I wanna know about this professor who, like, it starts with a D. Professor De Vera. I wanna know what her motivations are. She did this thing, if you read the book, where she like did that kind of thing to kind of signal something, and it's like, I'm just wondering what her intentions are overall with what's going on. It's picking up for me. I'm on page 256, chapter 28. The spice is still not like, it just doesn't do it for me. I don't know, like, I don't mind it. You know, they just get out of a lot of stuff very easily. Like the kids in Harry Potter, it's like, really? you probably, if this was real, would have died like 500 times by now, but for some reason you're still living because you're the protagonist. I don't need to say anything else. I'm just gonna keep reading. Any form of communication that happens in this book that's like not verbally spoken, so if you've read it, you know, between Violet and other people, I just love it. It's just so snug. Like, all of those moments are so snug. Okay, so I'm on page 307, chapter 35. They got what they needed from the place. And of course, there's somebody now that has turned against them. And I'm sure it'll be fine because we're like halfway through the book. But this book is really just a series of like unfortunate events of stuff that like happens to Violet and her getting out of it every single time, even when it's extremely unlikely. Oh, something I'm curious about is, so somebody saved Violet from this like attack. I don't want to say who it is because that would be a spoiler, but this person, I'm very curious like where the arc is gonna go with him. I'm excited to see like where it's building to, cause, like again, because I feel like it's, instead of having like rising action and falling action, I feel like it's like a lot of like this. I want to start feeling, when we're halfway through the book, I want to start feeling the build towards like the climax of the book. So I'm hoping that maybe perhaps that is starting now. I'm curious about the sleeping dragon, what's happening with that. I'm also really curious about Violet's mom. I wonder if she's not what she seems. Like, I wonder if she's putting up a front of taking a certain position, but is really on, you know, the other side of it. I think that would be awesome. I'm really loving the kind of found family aspect of this and feeling more character development as it goes. Also, just want to say, like, the second she took the sip of the lemonade, I was like, you dumb bitch. Wow, I look interesting. So I've been reading in bed all morning. I just cried for the first time. I'm very much in this now. In part 2, page 360, it's all happening. Mira punches somebody in the face. Well, made me laugh. But everything that happened before that, cried. The spice scene at the beginning of part 2 was good. I feel like there are a few characters, like Professor Devara is giving like Professor McGonagall to me. People are part of the rebellion, and it's all happening. I take my frownies off. Got that tight forehead. I'm on page 381, chapter 41. Xaden is there. I think they're a little codependent. I love the new professors. Their teaching style is definitely different in a good way. Not this Catriona character again. Not gonna lie, it's pretty juicy. Oh, Violet can handle herself. Violet can handle herself. Thanks. So I've decided my track is Cat. Meaning, if I were in this, I would like to play Cat. I mean, I would love to play Violet, but I don't have silver hair. Not many people my age do. Cat, you know, people describe her as unhinged, and that's really fun to play. So they're taking all of them back now. That's the plan. I love unlikely alliances. They make me so giddy. I just love when two groups of people or two people, whatever it is, just like get together for the greater good that are allegedly sworn enemies. That's hot. Anyway, yeah, Cat's my track. This thing where they're like crossing the mountain range, I'm just like, get to the point. Is someone gonna die or not? I don't know. I'm kind of cozying up to Dane a little bit. I don't know, Xaden's just a little like too perfect. They're on the throne. It's amazing. Wow. Okay, so they just said they're meeting in Samara, and it does kind of feel like, okay, like we're letting innocent civilians die because you have mommy issues. Also, like what Xaden and Violet are fighting about is stupid. Like, in my opinion, it's stupid. Like, get over it. get over it. Like, you both, honestly, both of you need to get over it. Move on. Get over it.
Okay, so they just discovered whose dragon set it on fire. Page 561. Now I'm thinking, is he a, what's it called with the V? You know what I mean? Is that what they were doing to him? That's the best spoiler-free version of that I could do.
Well, that just all went to shit.
God, I experienced this, like, when I read ACOTAR 2. It's like, there's this much of the book left, and I feel like we just arrived at the major climax of the book, and I guess that kind of makes sense, because, like, afterwards, like, what else is there to say? Like, we don't, obviously don't need the falling action to be as long as the rising action. We have, like, 60 pages left, and I'm just like, what are we gonna pack into those 60 pages? Like, I feel like there's so much that's about to happen. I do think there's a world in which Violet, Xaden, and Dane can exist happily and fully as a throuple. I said it. I'm also thinking this new thing that we know about Xaden and what he's able to do. Like, I wonder what's going on there now. I wonder if that's going to come into play momentarily. I'm on page 566 now. Intense. I'm like saying a lot, but this is the first time so far during reading this book that I feel like I cannot put it down. The guy that Violet's sister punched in the face when she first saw him, if you know, you know. I can't say exactly who it is because spoiler. Really, the more this goes on, I'm like, you're kind of a piece of shit for like many reasons. I mean, I don't know. See how this all turns out. It might be wrong, but right now I'm like really thinking not great things about this person. I can't believe they're flirting in a time like this. Okay, page 574, chapter 61. Again, Cat is my track. My prediction is that, like, someone is going to turn Venin by the end of this book. I feel like it could be Dane, and I feel like it could be a family member, perhaps. I'm not sure, but that's, like, my gut feeling. Maybe none of the main characters will die. I mean, maybe they will. I'm, like, pretty sure, like, turning Venin is worse than death, and I feel like that's gonna happen by the end of this book. And then the next book will be about how to turn them back. Kind of like in Throne of Glass, there's like a similar situation where one of the main characters is like taken over by like an evil force. The other character has to like figure out how to get the evil force out of them and like not kill them. I feel like that could be where this is heading. We'll see. I feel like if I was reading a rom-com, we'd be like wrapping up at this point. And like it's still like the big event has not happened yet. I'm just like, where's this gonna end? It's like, what's happening? And you just know someone's going to not follow the rule of like staying in their own sector. You just know that's gonna happen, and you know it's gonna cost someone something. I'm also just like, are we still at the point where the civilians like don't know what's going on and this is all just gonna happen? They're gonna be like, what's this? You know what I mean? Something that I don't understand, and maybe I missed something, but I'm not, but it's kind of taking away a key like experience, I guess, for me reading this is like, what is like the enemy's actual motivation besides just like destroying everything? Like, I like it when an enemy has like a real motivation for doing something, like obviously that makes it more interesting and like kind of raises the stakes. And I'm not sure I understand, and maybe I missed something, I don't know, but I don't know what that is. You know what I mean? Do you know what I mean? Okay, so this is probably reaching, but I see this kind of as like symbolism for global warming, because I feel like all of the people have to come together to fight this evil force. Like, they're all sworn enemies and they're all like trying to like wage their own wars on each other, but like when like the actual world is like threatened, like they're forced to come together and like fight together. And it's like, why can't we just do that sooner? Like, do we have to like bring our pride into it and focus on like what matters, which is like the world not ending? Okay, page 596, chapter 63. And Darna always makes me emo. Like, I started getting choked up and then I put the book down and took my camera out. Okay, on page 616, chapter 65. I need to see like Cate Blanchett do that scene. I feel like I say that a lot when I read stuff. I'm like, Cate Blanchett needs to play this character. I need to see it. But it's so true. I want to see Cate Blanchett play General Sorrengail in the scene at the end of this movie. I think she would like kill it. I think. Is there anyone else that I could see doing it? Probably not. That was an amazing scene. And I just finished Xaden's chapter. Kind of saw it coming. Setting up for a good third book. Gonna drink some water and then share my thoughts. First of all, I just want to apologize. I feel like, and it's probably going to edit like fine together, but I just feel like the filming of this vlog was kind of all over the place. I wanted to try doing a vlog in 4K, and I've just discovered that it is not the vibe for this camera and for like my own filming style. It doesn't add up. I'm filming in 1080 now. I did kind of my last bits on my phone. We're trying stuff out. Iron Flame. So I feel like a lot of this vlog was me kind of going like, oh, I don't feel incredibly connected to the characters emotionally, etc. And I do think that that's an important part of rating a book. How well can the author get you to connect emotionally to the characters? But having said that, I think that the world Rebecca Yarros has created, the complexities of it, the history of it, the characters, their relationships, like the world building, it's just so incredibly intricate, and I am giving this 5 stars. And the reason I'm giving this 5 stars is because of the complex world building. I did get emotional at parts. I feel like my 6-star read is A Court of Silver Flames. I was just like so emotionally connected to that character that it's hard for me to rate other fantasy now for some reason with 5 stars. For a 5-star read, I feel like this checks out for like what a 5-star read calls for in terms of being emotionally connected to a character. My expectations are extremely high because of A Court of Silver Flames. I really do feel like I know who all of these characters are. During the end scene, I really felt the stakes for each and every one of the characters that was fighting, and I was like, if one of these, this is not a spoil, I'm not spoiling anything by the way, you know, I was like, if one of these characters dies, like, I will be devastated. The character story is what made the conflict that they were facing mean something, and so to me, that's kind of what measures emotional connection, I guess, to characters in a way that's like functional to the book. I feel like I'm sounding really pretentious, and I'm not really like thinking too much about what I'm saying. I'm just kind of riffing. But I think the point is that I have very, very high expectations to emotionally connect to characters that I feel like aren't fair to my rating system. So I am giving this 5 stars. The real world kind of like connections and symbolism is like extraordinary. This is a really, really carefully considered, well-crafted book. I'm really interested to see where we're going in the next book in the series. I mean, I would definitely recommend this series if you're like looking to get into reading the series, like if you're watching this vlog because you're not sure if you should read the books or not. I would say that depends. I think if you have never read fantasy, because I know these are really popular and they're kind of pitched as like romance fantasy, and while there obviously is a romantic element, if you're more of like a romance reader or a young adult reader or you don't read a lot of fantasy, I would definitely not start with these. Personally, I would read maybe some other stuff first. The world building is a little bit more complex than I think other fantasy books that I have read, and I definitely had to like stop and reread a few things a few times. It's a dense one. I really do want to play Violet. I love her character arc, especially like where she starts in the first book compared to where she is now. I guess I'm gonna end the reading vlog here. Maybe I'll cut together something nice. Yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I will see you next week. Have a great weekend. Bye. Bye. Let's go put this on my bookshelf, actually. Slide her in there. Bye.